My name is Elizabeth. I'm 59 years old, and I was uninvited from my own daughter's wedding via email. Before I tell you why she was blowing up my phone the next morning, absolutely frantic, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. It's always nice to see how far these stories travel. The email arrived on a Tuesday. I was at my desk finishing up a client file when the notification popped up. The subject line was just wedding update. I smiled. My daughter Jennifer was finally getting married at 32. I'd already sent her $35,000 for the venue deposit in Napa Valley, and the final $55,000 was scheduled to be transferred next week. I clicked it open, ready for some good news. What I read felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't an update, it was a disinvitation. "Hi, Mom," it began far too casually. "So, Nathan and I have been talking with his mom, and we've all decided it's best to keep the ceremony itself really small and intimate. So, we're not going to be able to have you there in person." I had to read that line 3 times. My blood ran cold. It went on. "But we still really want you to be a part of it. We'll be setting up a Google Meet link so you can watch everything from home. LOL. LOL. 3 letters that burned a hole right through my heart. She had summarized my 32 years as her mother, my sacrifices, my love, and my checkbook, and dismissed it all with a laugh out loud. I looked at my screen at the words that essentially told me my money was welcome, but I wasn't. For 32 years, I had been her mother. When exactly did I become her bank? I minimized the window, my hands trembling slightly. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just felt empty. All I did was reply to her email with 4 words. "Sure, enjoy your big day." Then I shut down my computer and went home. That night, my quiet house felt deafening. Every corner held a memory of sacrifice. I thought about the second job I took when my husband David passed away, just to make sure Jennifer and her brother Mark never felt the financial strain. I thought about paying for Jennifer's college tuition, even when she changed her major for the 3rd time. I thought about the down payment I'd helped Mark with for his house last year. I'd given them everything. I walked over to the mantel and picked up a framed photo of David. He was smiling, his eyes full of the kindness I had fallen in love with. I traced the line of his jaw with my finger. "On Zamni, David," I whispered, the Vietnamese term of endearment, feeling strange and familiar on my tongue. I tried my best, but I think I got something wrong along the way. The silence that answered me was all the confirmation I needed. Continuing to let them treat me this way wasn't honoring his memory. It was a betrayal of the life we were supposed to build, a betrayal of myself. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I didn't get ready for work. I got in my car and drove straight to the bank. The teller smiled politely as I sat down. I explained that I needed to cancel a pending wire transfer of $55,000. She tapped at her keyboard, no judgment on her face. As I signed the cancellation form, my hand was perfectly steady. It wasn't an act of revenge, it was an act of survival. By the time I got home, my phone had started buzzing. It didn't stop. Call after call from Jennifer, voicemails. Then the text started, but I didn't answer. I just put the phone on silent and made myself a cup of tea. That evening, there was a sharp knock on my door. It was Mark. His face was a thundercloud. "Mom, what did you do?" he demanded as soon as I opened the door. "Jennifer is a wreck. I canceled a wire transfer." "Mark, that's all." He stepped inside, his voice rising. "A wire transfer? Mom, that was for the wedding. After everything we've been through since Dad died, why would you choose now to hurt Jennifer?" The old me would have crumbled. The old me would have apologized, felt guilty, and fixed it, but the old me was gone. I looked my 29-year-old son in the eye. "Mark, what's hurting Jennifer right now isn't my action, it's the consequence of her own." "This is unbelievable," he scoffed, running a hand through his hair. "Why do you always have to make everything about you?" That was the line, the one they always used. I felt a hot flash crawl up my neck, but my voice came out colder than I expected. "I think it's time for you to leave." He stared at me, shocked into silence for a moment before turning and storming out. As the door clicked shut, I didn't feel guilt, I felt light. The texts from Jennifer became a flood. She forwarded me an email from her fiancé, Nathan. It was blunt, talking about how embarrassing this was, how he was losing face with his family. Jennifer's own messages shifted from passive-aggressive to panicked. "The venue called. They're going to give our date away if they don't get the final payment by tomorrow." Then a few hours later, another one. This time it was a phone call. I let it go to voicemail. The message she left was the nail in the coffin. Her voice was syrupy sweet but laced with desperation. "Mommy," she began, a name she hadn't used in years. "I'm so sorry. I've just been so stressed. You know how much I love you. We can talk about this. I'll make it right. I'll do anything. Just please send the money first." I listened to it once. That was all I needed. She wasn't sorry she had hurt me. She was terrified she was about to lose what she wanted. My presence was a bargaining chip. My love was a transaction. I calmly replied to her text. "You aren't sorry for hurting me, Jennifer. You're scared because you're about to lose something you want." I put the phone down. I was done. The next day at work was blessedly normal. My boss, Robert, a senior partner at the law firm, is a good man. He treats me with a respect I realized I was starved for. He runs the firm, but he knows I'm the one who keeps it running smoothly. Just as I was packing up to leave, my office door creaked open. It was Jennifer. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hair a mess. This wasn't the confident, entitled daughter I knew. This was a cornered animal. She rushed to my desk, her voice a broken whisper. "Mom, please, I'm begging you. I'll lose everything." She grabbed my hands. They were ice cold. "Jennifer," I said, pulling my hands away gently, "there's nothing to discuss." "Yes, there is, the venue. St. Helena Vineyards," she sobbed. I looked at her and, for the first time, felt nothing but a sad, quiet resolve. "Yes, I know the one," I said. Her head snapped up. I continued, my voice even. "Mr. Chin, the owner, is a major business associate of one of Robert's biggest clients. My job, Jennifer, the one you've never asked about, is to maintain those relationships, to make sure people like Mr. Chin are happy with our firm. One phone call from me could probably fix all of this." A flicker of hope, of victory, flashed in her eyes. She thought she had won. And then I delivered the final blow. "But today," I said, leaning forward slightly, "you showed me exactly what my word, my presence, is worth to you." I let the silence hang in the air for a beat. "So, no, I will not make that call." The hope in her eyes died, replaced by a horrified understanding. The color drained from her face. She finally understood. My power wasn't in my bank account. It was in the respect I had earned, the life I had built completely separate from her, a life she had never once bothered to see. Just then, Robert appeared in my doorway holding his briefcase. He took in the scene, me, calm and composed, Jennifer, looking utterly broken. He didn't need the details. He just saw his office manager being harassed. "Jennifer," he said, his voice firm but not unkind, "I think it's time for you to leave. Our workday is over." She didn't argue. She just turned like a ghost and walked out. I sat there in the silence of my office, the city lights beginning to glitter outside my window. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt still. I turned on my computer, opened my email, and composed one last message to both Jennifer and Mark. It was short. "From now on, my love for you is unconditional, but my presence and support are not. You will have to earn them." I hit send, then I blocked both of their numbers. And for the first time in a very, very long time, I breathed. 6 months have passed since that day. I heard through the grapevine that Jennifer and Nathan had a small ceremony in his parents' backyard. I never received an invitation, and I never received a real apology. But something incredible happened in those 6 months. I took that $55,000, my money, my security, and I did something I'd always dreamed of. I pitched a new initiative to Robert and the other partners, a pro bono program run by me to offer free financial and legal counseling to older women in our community who are facing economic abuse or hardship. They approved it without hesitation. My life isn't about weddings or filling an empty nest anymore. It's about taking the hardest lesson of my life and turning it into a lifeline for someone else. My worth was never negotiable. I just had to be the one to finally believe it. As I look back on it all, I realize a profound truth, one that I want to share with all of you. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Thank you all so much for listening to my story. It wasn't an easy one to share. I'd really like to know, have you ever had a moment where you had to choose your own self-respect over keeping the peace? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading them. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more. You're not alone.